Evil 4 can be labeled as a great many things. Some, including myself, consider it to be one of the best video games ever made. Some, including myself, consider it to be where the Resident Evil franchise took a major step in another direction. Whether you preferred this new direction or not is entirely up to you. I have no interest in telling you which Resident Evils you should or shouldn't like. I'm just saying. It's a cold, hard fact that this installment changed everything. And why is that? Why did the franchise move in this much more action-heavy direction? I mean, it's not a secret or anything. Shinji Mikami himself has stated that the catalyst for the adjustment was the failure of the 2002 remake of the original Resident Evil. Now, before you chase me down like Mr. X and bash my brains in with that ridiculous Macho Man double X handle he does in the original RE2, let me clarify. I didn't call the remake a failure. Shinji Mikami did. And he's not saying people hated it. He's not saying review outlets buried it. He's saying it didn't sell very well. Could that very easily be attributed to the fact that the Nintendo GameCube, the console the remake was initially exclusive to, also did not sell very well? I would say yes. If there are fewer people who can buy your game, obviously, you're going to sell fewer copies. So I kind of feel like this was a bit of an overreaction. Am I playing defense for this game because it is, without question, a true masterpiece? Maybe. But we'll move beyond the sales figures of the remake and we'll move beyond the tone switch of Resident Evil 4. Today, we pick things up right where we left off. Across 2020, I released a 5-part series entitled The History of Resident Evil, 1996 to 2006, A Decade of Decay. Now that it's 2026, I think it's time for us to step in to 2007. And after that, we'll jump right into 2009. Yeah, we're really breaking it open here today. I'm extremely sick, can you tell from my voice? Every word hurts, please give me a break. To call Resident Evil's moves after the critically and commercially acclaimed RE4 divisive might be a bit of an understatement. I mean, were you expecting the follow-up game to be an on-rails light gun shooter? Were you expecting the next mainline sequel to be co-op and set in Africa, leading many players to accuse the game and team of being racist? Did you expect to see Chris Redfield punch a boulder out of the way in a fist fight with Wesker around a volcano? Did you expect to learn that Wesker, in his original escape from the mansion the night he died, actually came face to face with and had to fight the abandoned tyrant from Resident Evil 0? We'll talk about all of this and more today. Thank you for being here and welcome to the History of Resident Evil Part 6, Retold and Reimagined. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, and podcasts and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the shirts, and you can buy my book, Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Video Game Compendium, at the link in the description. As always, thank you very much for watching. Now let's get to it. Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles was revealed to the public in 2006, set to launch in 2007, once again exclusively on Nintendo hardware. But with the GameCube now a thing of the past, Capcom and Cavia set their sights forward to the next generation. The Nintendo Wii was massive, selling over 101 million units. That puts it inside the top 10 best-selling video game consoles in history. With a much larger audience to sell to, would Umbrella Chronicles hit the numbers that the 2002 remake couldn't? Hey, stay tuned. I mentioned Capcom and Cavia a second ago, and many of you may have wondered, who the hell is Cavia? What the hell is Cavia? That's not a dumb question at all, so let me explain. Cavia were the majority developer on Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. They were known previously for their work on the Drakengard series, and believe it or not, this is the team who gave us the wonderfully awful Resident Evil Dead Aim. Oh dear. This is not what you want to hear as a fan. This is like someone saying, no, that movie's gonna be great. It's got the guy who directed one of the Halloweens, and it's fucking Domenico the Ninja Gerard from Halloween 5. If the idea of going from Resident Evil 4's industry-changing over-the-shoulder camera angle to an on-rails shooter here with Umbrella Chronicles is a bit jarring to you, hey, it was jarring to the developers, who were initially conceptualizing Umbrella Chronicles as another third-person shooter. Why the change? Hey, ask producer Masachika Kawada, who stated, "We users like easiness." Hey, I think he's got a point. Who the hell can't figure out a light gun game? We were playing Duck Hunt in the 80s, you kidding me? This is precisely what sold so many Wiis, too. Literally everybody, from your 3-year-old nephew to your 84-year-old grandma, they can all play Wii Sports. They get it. It's accessible. The question is, would Umbrella Chronicles be accessible? This was 2007 we're talking about, but let's pump the brakes a little bit and think about what that means. That means that this franchise already had over a decade of lore to its name. Do you think your 3-year-old nephew would understand that the zombies inside the mansion were actually the caretakers of the mansion? That there's a reason they're all dressed the way they are and why they're present where they are? I don't think so. But then again, I don't think you should let a 3-year-old play this game either way. What about your 84-year-old grandma? Do you think she's gonna look at the screen and go, "Oh yeah, Albert Wesker, he's a traitor to the stars"? Not a chance. Even with all that in mind, it doesn't matter either way, because Umbrella Chronicles isn't a sequel. It isn't a prequel. This game acts as a truncated retelling of the events of Resident Evil 0, 1, and 3. So it's actually kind of perfect for anybody who doesn't already know what those games were. This is like the rapid-fire way to get caught up. Would I recommend that a newcomer skip the originals and simply play Umbrella Chronicles? Hell no, I wouldn't. I actually think Umbrella Chronicles is a lot more fun if you already have played the originals, because not only are we getting retellings here, but there are little pieces of lore that are being filled in. But before I get into how the gameplay feels and all that, let me tell you about my history with Umbrella Chronicles. It's not a long story, so don't worry, it's actually very short. I didn't own a Wii when this game came out, so it wasn't an option for me either way. But when I heard that this was an on-rails shooter, this was a motion-controlled light gun game, my reaction was, oh, okay. Never mind. I did not care at all. I did not feel like I was missing anything because, dude, I was coming off Resident Evil 4. Dial it back. RE1, 2, and 3, those were my style. On rails? Wiimote? I don't think so. This looks like a shit-out, low-effort cash-in. Even when the game eventually came to PlayStation 3, which is the console I did own, I still skipped it. Been there, done that, just in a much better way. I don't need this. It wasn't until just now in 2026 that I ever played Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles for the first time. I felt like I had to, you know? This is the history of Resident Evil, and these light gun on rails games are a part of Resident Evil's history. I understand. It is what it is. So I jumped in for the first time, and this game kinda fucking kicks ass. It's so stupid, looking back on it, that one of my critiques, one of the things that made me turn away from this game was, so what, it's like House of the Dead, just Resident Evil? Cool. Yeah, asshole, it is cool. House of the Dead rules. Umbrella Chronicles starts us out at the earliest point on the timeline, with Rebecca and Billy on the train from Resident Evil 0. We work our way through here with the occasional cutscene dropping in bits of lore. We've got the giant scorpion boss fight, which actually took me like 5 tries because the game tells you aim for the head, but you specifically have to aim for the stinger at certain points or else you take damage. But that's whatever. The giant bat boss fight is here too. We've got the monkeys who were gimmicked with the T-virus. The abandoned tyrant is down here in the depths. It's all really cool. Wesker narrates the intro and outro to every mission, as the lore is all being delivered from his point of view. After running through the 0 missions, we move on to the mansion, the RE1 portion of the story. Here we can switch between Chris and Jill, though there isn't really much of a difference who you play as throughout the entire game. I think it's just kind of up to your preference. I should mention that we unlock new guns for our loadouts and earn stars based on our performance, and these stars act as our upgrade currency. You know what really pissed me off, and maybe you can relate to this, let me know. There was a section with a QuickTime event, and this was the specific type of QuickTime event where failure results in instant death. Apparently I botched it. I could have sworn I pressed L1 when I was supposed to, but I guess not. I don't know. Getting sent back was a pain in my asshole, but whatever. Now I know what to expect. Let's get this done. You motherfuckers, you changed the button. How dare you? That just chaps my ass. How are you gonna change the button? The entire time back to this section, I've been ready to tap L1 when the time is right. Now all of a sudden it's R1. Oh man, that's just rude. And you know what else is rude? I only experienced one bug in my entire playthrough, but the bug I experienced was very annoying. In here, I'm surrounded by spiders. I take out the first one, but he died like right on top of me. So all of my bullets are connecting with his corpse instead of the remaining spider in my path. This game is on rails. I'm not allowed to simply move, and the game will not progress until I've cleared all enemies on the screen. I had to burn through all of my ammo here, all of my grenades to get this sorted out. That's bogus. What wasn't bogus was hitting all the high spots of my favorite video game ever made, though. Technically, Resident Evil Director's Cut is my favorite game of all time. I just did a video all about it on the last season of Scream Sequence. Check that out. I'm proud of that one. But this is the remake of that game, so it's the same deal. Forrest is here, and we gotta deal with him. We've got the giant snake codenamed Yawn, and this boss fight is really cool. We're getting chased all throughout the library here, dropping the chandelier on his head. It's great. Crimson Heads have made their way over as well, and they take many bullets to put down. The Sharks, aka Neptune. Holy shit, is this awesome. Oh my god, this is cool. And we can't forget the Tyrant, come on.
I don't need them anymore. The ultimate life form. Tyrants. It's beautiful.
Self-destruct system has
The Plant 42 boss fight was bullshit, though. This was another area where I was like, what is it exactly that you want me to do? But I got through. The Resident Evil 3 section ushers us into the shoes of Jill and Carlos. The Gravedigger boss fight, that's the giant worm deal. I don't know how I was surviving cars being thrown at me. That's a head scratcher. But what can you do? The arrival of Nemesis is fantastic, like it always is.
Stars. What?
I'll cover you.
Even if watching him scurry across the rooftop is a bit silly looking. I haven't touched on the fact that, by completing the mainline missions which retell the games we know and love, we actually unlock secret side missions. Rebecca and Richard fighting through the guardhouse, Wesker coming back to life after being killed by the Tyrant and escaping the mansion before self-destruction. There's plenty to see here. I mentioned earlier that Wesker had to take out the abandoned tyrant from RE0 down here. That's crazy, but he's also fighting Lisa Trevor multiple times on his way out the door. This is all well and good, but the reveal that Wesker was locked out of his Umbrella credentials and then confronted by Sergei, a high-ranking Umbrella exec and former member of the Soviet Army, this is crazy. Sergei has his very own tyrant, and he looks like this. What the fuck is that? Who the fuck are they kidding with those glasses? He looks like fucking Squirtle with those shades. And why is his coat white? Why are his glasses orange? This is so out of place and stupid looking. It's hard to believe it's even here, but it is. This is real. Is this already more than you were expecting out of Umbrella Chronicles? And hey, maybe that goofy-ass tyrant threw things off a bit, but before that, this is pretty cool, right? And there is more to come, so let's fly through the rest of the game. I haven't talked much about the side missions with Rebecca and Richard, where we actually get to see how he wound up in this position from the original game. I haven't touched at all on the Ada content, which I had read would reveal how she survived Resident Evil 2, but it doesn't, really. She's just kind of bandaged up from falling, like 300 feet, presumably to her death. Whatever, doesn't matter. Wesker's side missions continue all the way through the very end of the game in the final scenario, which once again stars Chris and Jill, but this time, we're not retelling anything. This is brand new stuff. We're breaking into a top secret Umbrella facility in Russia, looking to put a stop to their newest weapon, the Talos Project. Tyrant Armored Lethal Organic System. What starts as this armed and armored tyrant dies and is reborn as this thing. Jesus Christ. But that's not all. Wesker hasn't forgotten how Sergei dicked him at the mansion, and this time, there's a blue stupid-ass tyrant. It's like fucking Sonic and Tails over here, you kidding me? Wesker basically wipes the entirety of Umbrella's files, putting him in a position of greater power than ever before, and it should be noted, Umbrella Chronicles actually pulls the Red Queen security system from the 2002 live-action film into the canon of the video games. How's that for a crossover? Some say these games are more fun if you play with a friend, and maybe they're right, I wouldn't know. As you can see from all of my gameplay, I had to play this by myself, but it is what it is. And hey, it's probably more fun to play with a motion controller as well. I was controlling things with the left analog stick. Did I play the game wrong? Hey, if you think so, that's up to you. But I had a good time, for the most part, so it's not like anything was ruined for me. We're nearing the end of this portion of the video, but before we close things out, let me ask you. Did you notice that the zombies from the RE3 missions are actually assets reused from Resident Evil Outbreak? As a matter of fact, many of the settings in Umbrella Chronicles are reused from Zero and the 2002 remake, just given a bit of a facelift. Now that's smart development.
Have you made contact with Bravo team?
No, I can't reach them.
Let's look for survivors.
With the game now in the rearview mirror, is Umbrella Chronicles necessary for you to understand Resident Evil broadly? No, absolutely not. This is just a fun little bonus thing for people who I would say are already big fans of the series. Am I glad I finally played this game? Yeah, absolutely I am. And if you are like me and you waited 15 some odd years to finally check out Umbrella Chronicles, I recommend that you do. Resident Evil The Umbrella Chronicles released exclusively for the Nintendo Wii on November 13th, 2007. It would later be ported to the PlayStation 3, compatible with Sony's PlayStation Move motion controllers. The footage you've seen today was indeed that of the PS3 version, and Believe it or not, it was captured streaming over PlayStation Plus Premium. I would never choose to stream something over running it natively, but this granted me access to the game without having to buy the disc, and my internet is great, so I had zero issues whatsoever. Umbrella Chronicles reviewed well too, with practically every outlet putting over the action and boss variety. How'd it sell? I don't have specific numbers, but the Wii version alone sold a confirmed 1.4 million copies, which is slightly more than the GameCube remake sold. Man, our beloved remake. In 2009, developer Cavia would go on to produce a sequel to Umbrella Chronicles, this time titled Dark Side Chronicles. But that's another conversation for another time. It is now time to turn our attention to the main event of the evening. Buckle your seatbelts, DanDans, because we're about to dive into one of the more controversial entries in Resident Evil history. Work on the 5th mainline installment kicked off in 2005, meaning that RE4 had barely hit store shelves when Capcom went, "Another one! We need another one! Get to work!" The reveal trailer was shown in 2007, and here it was, Resident Evil 5. Immediately, fans and critics alike were buzzing. Chris is back! We haven't played as Chris since Code Veronica. The first reaction some had, though, was that this game looked extremely racist. And we'll just start rolling some gameplay here, because it fits with what I'm saying. You'll get a look at what I'm talking about. Resident Evil 5's story centers around Chris Redfield and Sheva Alomar, working for a group called the BSAA, being sent to Kijuju, Africa, which is not a real place, in pursuit of a man named Irving who was allegedly looking to sell an extremely powerful bioweapon to people who should not have such a thing. That's the quick version. Special agents sent out on a mission. But that's not what everybody sees. Some people see a white cop murdering hundreds of black people. That's what this image is to them. It doesn't matter that these aren't just normal people. They've been victimized and infected with the virus and are attempting to kill Chris and Sheva. That doesn't matter. It's just the image that they can't get around. I wanted to address this at the beginning of my RE5 coverage and get it out of the way so that we don't have to talk about it the entire time. Look, if that's you, if what you see here is a white cop killing black people, then that just is what it is, I guess. I have never seen it that way, and the game's developer, Capcom, has never seen it that way. Producer Jun Takeuchi was blown away by this reaction to the reveal trailer, stating that this was not only not their intention, but he felt that nobody would feel this way after playing the game and getting the full story. Actress Karen Dyer, who plays Sheva in both voice and motion capture, has vehemently denied the game having any racism in it whatsoever, to the point that she wouldn't have worked on a project that was racist. Despite Karen's support of Capcom and the game itself, there are fans who ignore her input and claim that Sheva was only added to the game so that a black person would also be pulling the trigger, not just a white person in Chris Redfield, but Dyer has denied this as well, stating that Sheva was involved in the game from the early goings. It is a fact that she wasn't always the second player, and that Barry Burton and Jill Valentine were even once discussed for the spot, but I'm just covering all the bases here. You don't hear me giving a definitive answer on whether or not Resident Evil 5 is racist, because I don't really think it's my place to make that call. I'm white. I look at this game and I think, yeah, most of the enemies are black because they're in Africa. That's what people there look like, you know? But I will repeat, I'm white, obviously. I don't see this through the lens that some others might, and I accept that. I will keep my mouth shut in a situation like this so that somebody like Karen Dyer can speak on it, and she did. And she said that it isn't. So I'm just going to follow her lead on that. Now, if you are white and you are talking over Karen Dyer, or you are correcting Karen Dyer, I think maybe you are silencing her voice a little bit, and that's your prerogative if that's what you want to do, but I'm not in that business. That's not what I'm going to do. Am I interested in hearing from my black viewers on this subject? Absolutely. Maybe some of you disagree with Karen. I'd like to hear your stance. Am I interested in hearing from anybody else on this subject? Not particularly, no. Because it's not about you. I think it's a great thing to stand up for others. I do it all the time. But we've also got a thing in this country with people who aren't from a specific group, whatever that group may be, and they're fighting harder and cheering louder than the group themselves, and they kind of make the movement and the moment about themselves. And I'm not interested in that. At all. And I say we have that in this country because Capcom are a Japanese developer, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the Japanese don't particularly share our North American cultural sensitivities. They don't give a fat shit about a lot of the things that we do over here, which speaks to why Chris shooting the infected here in RE5 did not read to them as anything other than, oh, that's Resident Evil 5. The last thing I'll say on this front is this. The British Board of Film Classification actually held an investigation over the racism complaints levied at RE5, specifically on the scene where a black man pulls a blonde woman into the shadows. And this whole thing fell apart rather quickly because the very first description wasn't even accurate. The board closed their investigation, labeling the claims of racism to be unsubstantiated, which fall in line with what Karen Dyer says as well. I think it's kind of sad that the black cast of this game had to keep talking about this during the press tour of the game.
It's in Africa. It's been in Antarctica. It's been, I think, in Spain. It's been in the Midwest. It wasn't racist then. Why should it be racist now? It's in Africa. Have fun with the game. Play the game. There are Africans in Africa, but there's other people. You see, in the game, actually, I believe you see some Arabics, some Europeans. They're all running around. They're all in trouble, and they're all in the same boat.
It would be one thing if, they were shooting people who weren't infected or shooting people who weren't, part of this evil. But these are people that are, they have to defend themselves. They are what they are, Majini, infected individuals that are coming to hack you. You should shoot them. Yes. Always shoot the ones that are coming to hack you.
With all that out of the way, let's get into the game itself, shall we? We were able to get a head start on the story there, which is wonderful. We know we're going after this dickhead Irving. Along the way, we're running into every kind of enemy imaginable, from villagers infected with the plagas to the dogs. We've got the big executioner boy who chopped our buddy's head off, thanks a lot. And you can't forget about the chainsaw guys. These guys came over from Resident Evil 4, and holy shit, they're not any less scary here in 5. I'm not breaking any news here in stating that, yes, this is the first game in mainline Resident Evil history to be fully multiplayer. You can be Chris, your friend can be Sheva, switch it around, do whatever you want. I am predominantly a single player guy, and I remember when this whole thing was revealed, I was extremely skeptical. But I also remember where I was back in 2009 when this game came out, and I do remember playing Resident Evil 5 online with the artist formerly known as Mike Charles. And I gotta say, it was really crazy controlling two Resident Evil characters at the same time with somebody else. They pulled it off. For this latest playthrough, largely due to time constraints, I played by myself with an AI Sheva. Does this work well? Surprisingly, yes it does. I mean, you gotta set her to cover. If you have her on attack, she's gonna be up your ass constantly. But the AI is smart. She'll combine red and green herbs to deal the appropriate amount of healing. She'll take it upon herself to go smash a barrel and get an item. And if that item is ammo for a gun that I have and she doesn't, she'll give me the ammo, knowing she can't use it. For a 16-year-old game, this is really impressive. I appreciate the resuscitate mechanic, where your partner can actually save you from the brink of death. I also appreciate Red Comet 13, who helped me out of a huge jam against this boss, who I could not beat with the AI. But Red Comet 13 had a fucking RPG, and he made short work of it. Thanks a lot. Subscribe to his channel. How you doing? I remember seeing this flash of Jill's gravestone in one of the opening cutscenes and being like, whoa, 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 what? What the hell was that? Jill is dead? I was heartbroken. Jill is my favorite character in Resident Evil history. I don't mind zipping ahead a little bit to show what happened. There was a time where Chris and Jill went out in search of Oswell Spencer. Who they found was Wesker, juiced to the gills, and Jill saved Chris but seemingly plummeted to her death for her troubles. Also early in the game, Chris gets a look at a file now indicating that Jill is actually alive, and that Irving must know about all this. On our journey to catch up with Irving, we get stopped by this fucking thing. What is it? We don't know yet, but it's scary and it's a pain in the asshole and you have to burn it away to nothing. And situations like this are most of what Resident Evil 5 is. This game is fucking exhausting. It's like the Capcom guys were going, surround them with fucking motorcycles, now put them in a fucking truck with a machine gun on it, speeding through the desert. Now send a fucking Gigante after him, and then they gotta use the machine gun on it. Put him in a fucking fan boat and blast all around the Serengeti, why not? Have him run backwards on a fucking conveyor belt in a big hot factory. Send a liquor after him, send 2 liquors, send 47 fucking liquors after him, who gives a shit? Resident Evil 5 is exhausting. I would say it's only around the halfway point of the game that they really start dropping in major story developments and lore. And after you read through these updates, it's safe to say another couple hours go by before they deliver any more. Everybody knows that Resident Evil 5 is predominantly an action game. We've already seen the hot potatoing from this vehicle to that vehicle, from this heavy weapon to that heavy weapon. Everybody knows how this goes. But it wasn't just the horror that took a back seat for this action to jump into center stage. It was the storytelling as well. That's not to say there isn't story here. There is. And there are a couple diaries strewn about that are as creepy or heartbreaking as some of the best stuff in Resident Evil history. It's just so few and far between. Anyway, when we do finally corner Irving, he does what any heel would do. He plunges a syringe full of the virus into his neck and mutates into a gigantic sea monster.
I'm far beyond anything you could ever hope to become.
This is another boss fight handled predominantly through vehicle-specific heavy weapons, by the way. And after we take him down, he spills the beans, leading us to a secluded cave where we find these beautiful flowers. What are these? These are the flowers that Umbrella and then Tricell, which is the company funding the BSAA, the company Chris and Sheva are working for. They've all secretly been experimenting on these flowers for decades. The latest gem to be plucked from this flower is Ouroboros, the virus Wesker intends to spread across the entire world, essentially restarting humanity with him as its leader. So that's good. In time, Chris and Sheva come face to face with Excelligion, Tricell's CEO, who is in cahoots with Wesker on the whole thing. And the hooded figure who has been assisting Wesker this entire time is revealed to be Jill Valentine, her mind corrupted by some horrific piece of technology stuck into her sternum. Luckily, Jill is saved. God damn, do you know how upset I would have been if Jill died as a brainwashed heel?
Do it! Jill. Jill. Are you all right?
Chris. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
You're Sheva, right?
Yes.
I couldn't control my actions. Oh, but God, I was still aware. Oh, forgive me.
It's all right.
Thank you. Listen, I'm gonna be all right. You do need to stop him.
We can't just leave you here.
You have to. This is your only chance. If Wesker succeeds, Ouroboros will be spread across the globe. Millions will die.
Well, yeah, but...
I'm all right. You need to stop him. Chris, you're the only one who can. Before it's too late. Don't you trust your partner?
All right.
Take care of him. You're our only hope to survive this.
Saving Jill here in RE5 opened up the possibility for her to star in RE6. RE7? RE8? RE9? God damn it, they've dropped the ball with Jill for over 20 years now, haven't they? Wesker turns on Excella because, of course he does. He's not in the business of sharing anything with anybody. And her body is rejected by Ouroboros, twisting and contorting her, obviously, into a gigantic tentacle monster that is entirely our problem. Good thing the ship we're on has a satellite missile system thing and we can blow her to bits relatively quickly. And before we get into the final battle with Wesker, let's go back for a little bit of lore, as Resident Evil 5 is where we learn that Albert Wesker wasn't just a guy who turned bad and eventually got himself some powers the way we were led to believe for quite some time. Wesker was actually stolen away from his parents at a very young age. His real name wasn't even Albert Wesker, and he was thrust into an experiment by Oswell Spencer called Project W. Of all the test subjects, he was the only survivor, the only suitable host for the many chemicals and viruses tested on him. Wesker rising to power here in RE5, on the brink of world domination, this was no coincidence. He was bred for this. Now, did Oswell Spencer expect Wesker to brutally murder him and usurp the throne? Probably not. But what can you do? In the end, the 10 years in the making Chris Redfield versus Albert Wesker feud comes to an end in a goddamn volcano and a battle as ridiculous as it is entertaining. Ouroboros and Albert Wesker both meet their end in the molten lava, and the day is saved.
You son of a bitch.
And that's Resident Evil 5. Now look, if you've watched the other installments of the history of Resident Evil and you felt my story coverage was a little light here in RE5, we've already covered this. The storytelling is a little light here in RE5. What's not light, however, is the atmosphere. The opening in the streets of Kajuju is pulled straight from Resident Evil 4's opening, and while it's not as heavy or freaky, it's still freaky. I've always felt like the streets of Kajuju looked like the movie Black Hawk Down, and I learned in my research that the film was indeed a direct inspiration for the game. How about it? When we go into the water and the crocodiles are closing in, goodness gracious. Underground in the ancient ruins, the size and scale here is incredible. The rays of light shining through the cracks, are you kidding me? And I'm just talking about what is here. Looking into some of what didn't make the cut, it gets even crazier. At one point, there was going to be an assault by an entire army of Gigantes, some real Attack on Titan shit, but obviously this did not make the final cut. Chris and Sheva were set to attack Wesker with a goddamn fighter jet. We were going to see a Tyrant as well, a Tyrant which was going to kill Excella just like it originally killed Wesker back in 1996. There's a whole wealth of this stuff out there. It's crazy how many twists and turns these games go through on their way to the finish line. I don't know how deep into the 2 DLC expansions we need to go, seeing as though they're short and they really just give a further look into situations we're mostly aware of, but we can't skip over them like they don't exist. Lost in Nightmares harkens back 3 years before the events of RE5. This was the mission where Jill tackled Wesker out the window. Is it extremely surreal to be in a very familiar looking mansion tracking down a Spencer? Yes, it is. This is insane. And the references don't end at just how the mansion looks either. If you've never played Lost in Nightmares, I highly recommend it. This is some of the coolest shit RE5 has to offer. The second expansion mission, entitled Desperate Escape, follows BSAA Delta agent Josh Stone and Jill Valentine, no longer under Wesker's mind control, in their attempt to get the hell out of Dodge. Desperate Escape is a lot longer than Lost in Nightmares, and it's more Jill Valentine content, which is always a good thing. Mercenaries mode was not invented for Resident Evil 5, but it goes without saying, Mercenaries mode is a blast here. With Jill, Barry, Chris, Wesker, and Rebecca all playable here, this is one big goddamn 1996 reunion, and I could not be happier about it. I would buy a game that was just Mercenaries mode if it had a gigantic roster and a ton of levels, and I'm not even kidding. Would you? Where do you stand on that? Make sure the price is right, and I'm in. There's no doubt about it. Resident Evil 5 was released on March 5th, 2009. The review scores were very high, as were the sales figures. And by that I mean Resident Evil 5 was the highest selling game in franchise history until 2025, when it was finally beaten by Resident Evil 2 Remake. RE5 is often looked at as a disappointment these days. The reaction to this game nowadays is usually that of, oh man, RE5. I came back to this game remembering practically nothing about it. I played through it upon release, and in all of the years that have passed since, I never really felt the pull to come back and do it again. And I always felt like that kind of told me something, because I've played the others dozens of times, you know? But in coming back to RE5, I've learned this game is awesome. It's not as freaky as the originals. It's not as good overall as 4, not even close. But the action is intense. The moment to moment is pulse pounding. The boss fights are exhilarating. Upgrading weapons feels good, and the culmination of Chris versus Wesker, though extremely stupid, is a very special kind of stupid. Rumors are always swirling of the new Resident Evil remakes, and for the first real time, Resident Evil 5 has entered those conversations. Obviously, the first thing on the mind of many is the racism issue. It doesn't matter that the black actors on the cast say that there's nothing to this. The internet has its own way of painting with its own brushes. So how this will all play out eventually is anybody's guess. Would a Resident Evil 5 remake be interesting to you? Or do you dislike this game and you never want to see it again? I'd like to know. I think it would be exciting to check out. Having only played the game once, this was one of the darker corners of my Resident Evil knowledge. And I'm glad I was able to come back and shine an extra light on the old Ouroboros. Thank you for watching.
I should have killed you years ago. Chris.
Your mistake. It's over, Wesker.
Over. I'm just getting started.
Oh, there it is. After 6 years away, I have finally released another installment of the history of Resident Evil. Look, Resident Evil 9 Requiem is just days away at this point, so the timing felt right. And there's more to come for the history of Resident Evil. Just, you know, give it time. Patreon.com/616entertainment is where you can go to support me, support the channel, support my work. I always tell you this, but I could really use you in my corner here in 2026. There are exclusive videos over there, exclusive podcasts, there are uncensored versions. This video probably needed an uncensored version. All of that is over there. Thank you for the support. Until next time, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.